G'day, Michael.
G'day, Nick. How you going?
Very well. If I was any better, I'd be you.
Oh, God, you don't want to be me right now, mate. I've been spending the whole day on the phone to banks and running down the banks and doing everything to unfreeze my fucking bank accounts. And now they're now they're making a claim that they set the accounts up wrong. Well, for fuck's sake, it's a fucking joke. Anyway, it is what it is.
So, they're trying to weaponize the bank against you?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's constant. It's every week. If it's not one bank, it's another. Last week it was four banks. This week it's the one bank we hoped was the most genuine and honest out of the lot of them, and they let us down as per usual.
Right.
They haven't closed the account, so that's an up. We're still one up.
Oh, very good. So, I represent a bunch of property investors who I've been mentoring them for many, many years,
Yeah.
over 20 years, and it was only in 2020 that I sort of woke up to a lot of what's been going on and have been down many a rabbit hole ever since.
Yeah.
And I've connected with Russell J. Gould and I've got my claim of my life and learnt about quantum grammar, syntaxing, writing, reading, and so forth. But when it comes to dealing with a lot of the corporate thuggery that's out there, um, they don't comprehend any of that. And I think it's just easy to beat them at the common law level.
Well, a contract is common law. So we do have common law in this country. We just don't recognise the fact that we're actually using it.
Hmm.
And we do, if you invoke your common law rights, your inalienable common law rights, then they also then have to recognise it. It's when you don't invoke those rights and inform them of such, then you have none.
Right.
And it's the same as you got a commercial contract with all these individual, all these corporations, um, and they push those contracts and they have their acts and all that sort of shit that they use against you and they beat you over the head with. The problem is those contracts aren't under common law in the sense that they didn't. There's no full disclosure.
Yep.
So there must always be full disclosure in every transaction. All parties must benefit. Not one party benefits and the other one has to do as it says. And it doesn't
Yep.
work that way. It's got to be mutual. That's the whole
Yep.
purpose of a meeting of the minds. It's full disclosure. It's why contracts have two party signatures. And once there's a contract in place, no third party can interfere with it, like a collections agency or a council, because our contract with landlord or proprietor in fee simple is with the Royal Crown of England. It's got nothing to do with Australia. It's got nothing to do with the state. The state are inviting themselves into the contract. And if we're fighting the state over it, saying, no, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, without providing prima facie evidence to substantiate what you're saying, then you're going to lose every time because he who
Hmm.
claims must prove. Right?
Yep.
Your ammunition is
Even
them.
in maritime law, they say it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
It, that's the court. You've
Yeah.
always got to take this. Your you always have to view your situation, whatever the controversy is. You must see yourself in court. You must imagine yourself in court making a counterclaim because obviously they take you to court, and you have to provide the evidence that what they're claiming is incorrect because they're not going to demonstrate it. They're not going to bring it up. I mean, their whole job is to steal from you.
So when it comes to the whole unrealized capital gains tax proposal, I personally don't think it's going to get up, but um, there's a lot of people who are concerned at the moment. And what can we provide in the way of prima facie evidence to say, go away, we're not going to conform to your fictitious claims?
Well, everything in life um, requires consent. So if your legal fiction has been paying rates, things like that, or did sign for a mortgage, credit card, whatever the case is, there's a contract. Your legal fiction signed it, not you.
Correct.
But when they look at you, they say you're the legal name. That's your name, isn't it?
Correct.
Most of us go, yeah, it is. It's me. Well, then you have to pay, mate. Right? So you always got to take the stand that you're administrating that entity. It's a public trust, or if you want to say it's what's the rule? For example, a lawyer has a client going to court. The lawyer doesn't stand up in front of the judge and says, I'm going to take the beating, I'm going to take the fine on that individual. He says, I'm representing that individual. Well, that's what we all got to do. We in our language that we use, we must administer the legal fiction. I use the word legal fiction every time I deal with the banks and that, and they ask, what's your full name? The legal fiction name is bang, 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 bang.
Yep.
First, middle, last name, because that's the legal fiction.
Yep.
I'm the authorised representative of that legal fiction, and my name is first, middle name of the house surname.
Yep. Well, there's me.
Yes.
That's my driver's license.
Okay.
The living man is the postmaster, and it's got the stamp and the whole thing. It's all been done. So I concur. I'm with you on that. I'm still got my trainer wheels on. I'm still learning, but
your problem with all these other registrations and licenses from all the other groups is that they're failing. You know, it's all good and well to have those things, but if you're pulled over by a cop and the cop looks at it and goes, "You're one of those sovereign citizens, mate," that's as far as it goes. The card doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
It's the same with the Royal Registration. The difference with the Royal Registry is we're actually under the Commonwealth of Australia. We're bound by the Constitution. That is we adopted the actual Constitution. So if they want one of our members, if they're coming after one of our members, they have to sit in our court. We don't sit in theirs. Our members are bound by the Constitution, which means it has to be a competent court recognised under the Royal Crown of England, not a freaking Australian government court, right? And that's the difference. We also use their laws against them. The important fact in every case, in every matter, is consent. Police are bound by the Law Enforcement Act in New South Wales. I think it's called the Police Act in Victoria. You'd have to look up your own state's Police Act, and there will be a section in there. Just do a search on the Government Australia website, open up the Act, go for search word and go consent. It gives you every section in that Act and explains what the cop has to do to get your consent. He needs your consent to even talk to you. Before he asks you a question. It says in his manual, he must ask for your permission to be asked questions.
Yep. Do you understand?
Yeah.
No, I don't stand under your authority. I do not consent.
See, but it's not even, it doesn't even have to be that kind of argument on the side of the road. He'll ask for your ID. Well, he'll ask for your name. Well, my name's, first, middle of the house surname. I believe you are first, middle, last name. Well, belief is a wonderful thing, but do you have evidence of that? Right? Everything requires proof, and they must have consent. I don't consent to being pulled over. I don't recall giving you consent to pull me over. Do you have evidence of that? No, I don't. I don't need to. I've got a badge. Well, unfortunately for you, under the Police Act, mate, that you're bound to, it says you must ask for my permission to even ask me a question, let alone have reasonable suspicion and probable cause to even pull me over. And if you believe there is a complaint made against me for doing harm or damage to another, you need a court order. You can't just barge in and help yourself. Right? The presumption is exactly what they're operating on, and they turn that into facts because most of us, we cave.
But you're dealing with uninformed idiots.
Yeah.
You're dealing with uninformed idiots who have been through the educational system and have been taught over many, 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 many years not to think for themselves, but to think a way, this is how you think. This is what, And so when you deal with these idiots, whether it's in Queensland Police or Spur or any other council department, they've got no clue whatsoever. So it's not until it goes up the chain, the pecking order to the, I suppose, their legal department before you even get anyone's attention. Is that right?
Well, that's true, but even their legal department are
Idiots.
idiots. They're not so idiot in the sense that they know their officers did wrong, but it's the onus is on us because when you talk, um, you're incriminating yourself. When you incriminate yourself, only a guilty man does that. An innocent man doesn't need to explain a damn thing.
Mm.
Right? You want my name? It's middle, first, the last, and of the house, it's the last name. Where do you come from? Don't answer questions. Where you going? Don't answer questions. What about those plates? They don't look like they're registered. Don't answer questions. So, no comment. Don't answer questions. Leave me alone. Stop harassing me. You're trespassing. Those 3 lines is all you need to repeat, 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 repeat. He can't use that video body camera against you because that's all it's got. It's telling them, even in court, the police officer's committed an offence of trespass. He's committed an offence to create a controversy for what reason? No reasonable cause, no probable cause, no complaint being made against you. There's no harm or damage by you travelling in your private consumable item, right? There's a big problem.
If you're traveling at 80 kilometers an hour and one of these thugs pulls you over and says you were traveling 80 in a 60 zone, um, I mean, I wouldn't bother at this stage where I'm at. I would just not bother arguing with him. I would say, I don't consent. I don't understand. If he asks for my license, I would say, I don't have a license. I'm a living man. You only issue licenses to corporations. However, I am the postmaster of this corporation, and that is probably what you're asking for. And then when he wrote a ticket, I would just say, not interested, keep it, I'm not taking it. Um, and then when it went escalated further, that's when I would, begin to write to them and deal with it and so forth. But I'm not saying that's correct. That's just me trying to navigate through this system, as I mean, I don't really know anyone else in my sphere of influence that's interested. I'm the only person who stands up to all this stuff. I haven't voted.
That's the problem. You got the majority of the sheeple who are ignorant of the law, and they're actually doing more harm and damage to you.
Yeah, correct.
You're trying to release them from enslavement, and they don't even know they're enslaved.
Yep.
That's the sad part of the whole picture. However, it's not our job to unenslave everybody.
No.
They made their own choice. They enjoy the benefits that the corporations give them. They've signed contracts to receive those benefits. You and I can't interfere with them. It's not our job to go in and say, hey, mate, wake up to yourself. You don't need that. You don't need a license. You don't have to be registered with GovCorp, because they're only going to work. They're only going to go against you because they're going to think you've got 2 heads.
Yep.
The reality is with us.
So what do you do when a copper pulls you over?
I don't talk to them. I just tell them I don't answer questions. No comment.
If they're telling you that you were speeding.
Well, they ransacked my house. They arrested me. They threw me in the clink for 9 hours, and all they got out of me was no comment, don't answer questions, no consent to contract. That's all that came out of my mouth.
Yep.
And they asked, are you an Australian citizen? No, I'm not. Subject of the Commonwealth. I'm a man. I'm not a legal fiction. So I corrected them. They got upset about that, but it doesn't matter. There's a whole range of things you can. If you read my latest judicial notice, it actually calls out the magistrate or judge who actually you might want to mute so you don't got this background bloody noise. My dog's bloody annoying.
That's all right. It's all good.
Okay. So it holds to account the judiciary when they submit a plea of not guilty on your behalf, on your legal fiction's behalf. That's actually against the rules. So they're committing an offence against their own acts.
When did you wake up and start to go down this path?
I was always a constitutionalist at least 35 years ago, but life got in the way. Then COVID hit. I seen COVID coming. I was fully aware of that in the late 1990s. I hoped it wouldn't come to fruition, but unfortunately, after each election, it got worse and worse and worse. Yeah, so yeah, it's you want to have a break just for 1 minute, so we get rid of the dog.
Sure.
Okay, hang on. Come here. Come here. Sorry, mate, you can edit that part out.
So you've got your assets registered in the private registry?
Yeah, in the Royal Registry, I have all of it except my property, which I'm in the process of doing. We have what we call a property shield. That property shield, we've just tomorrow, in fact, will be our first one. So we've been training a lawyer to work our system, and we're using GovCorp lawyers because they come with liability insurance. So we sue him if he gets it wrong. So. And we use GovCorp lawyers. They're fantastic. They offer a great service and no risk to us. And because we are prolific litigators and we win every case out of court, mind you, most of them have been out of court. Very rarely do we actually go into court. I think we know the law better than our own bloody lawyers do.
So I know very little about you. As I said, one thing's led to another to another. It all started when my identity was stolen, my wife's identity, and fraudulent loans were taken out against our home, and I couldn't get any help in the system. And then that's when I found some bloke over the border with a big long beard who's right into corporate law, northern New South Wales, and I met with him. And then somebody else put me on to a guy called Derek in Victoria because I said it was an issue with the banks. To take on the banks, and he was running these class actions against all the banks. Monday was ANZ, Tuesday was NAB, Wednesday was Westpac.
And they're all losing. They're all losing. I've been following those things. They're all losing.
And so we'd send the letters and nothing would happen, nothing would happen. He said, we'll send letter one, then we'll send letter two, then we'll do this, then we'll do that. And then he disappeared. He vaporized, just disappeared. And then he popped up later on selling some other service. I thought, okay, he's a fraud. But the one thing he did do is he told me, he goes, if you want me to help you, you're going to have to go and listen to, and he gave me a video series from, not Russell J. Gould, but the guy he was, what was the other guy he was hooked up with, who's dead now?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I did an all-nighter. I listened to this and did an all-nighter, and just one thing's just led me to another, and someone put me onto you. I don't know who. I didn't know about the Royal Registry, but my daughter told me that she's got friends who she said they're straighty 180s, and she caught up with them recently and was blown away at how awake they are. And she goes, oh, you'd really like my dad, he's into quantum grammar and this and that. And they go, oh, he's on the right track, but there's more to go. And then they're part of your Royal Registry, I believe. And they were saying about registering your motor vehicles differently, privately, and all this sort of stuff. I want to know about that.
Well, for you have to understand how the law works. Everything's under Admiralty law. Law merchant, for example, is important regarding property. Every time you sign a GovCorp document or a corporate document, you're signing your life away. You're actually giving over ownership. You're passing ownership of that, whatever it is you're registering, to the corporation.
Correct.
The corporation,
correct. Your child.
The corporation give it back to you because you're now the usury of that item, and you have to pay an annual fee for the privilege of operating or using your property that you funded and purchased, not them. right?
Did you register your dog, by the way?
My dog's registered with Royal Registry.
Right. And when you register your car, or if I register my car with Royal Registry, what plates do you get?
You get Royal Registry plates, our own plates, which is like a branding. If you go back to horse and buggy days, your horse always had a brand on his hindy, and the
Hmm.
coach would have the family crown or shield or
Yep.
crest. Yeah, that was identification that it was privately owned under common law. Private property is protected under common law.
Yep.
It's only when you register it to GovCorp or a corporation, you've
Yep.
actually lost ownership. You've handed it over to.
David Lester Straight taught me a lot of stuff too. I mean, no, he's passed away now, but he talked a lot about this sort of stuff. And I think he said he had a sign on his car warning the police of his charges if they pull him over.
Yeah, no, our members are doing that. I personally, the old, we have a hardware chain called Bunnings here, and in the label or the lettering aisle, they have a no trespass adhesive sticker,
Oh, yeah.
which is an outdoor sticker, but it's an all season weather sticker. So once it's on, it's a damn bugger to get it off. So I position that. It's only about so long and about that high, and I sit that at the bottom of the rear window because these sneaky bastards always come up behind you.
Yep.
And when they flick their old cameras on and they're filming the back of your car, all they got is no trespass. It says that. So
Yeah.
you can actually call that out in court when you put the dickhead in the bloody witness stand and say, did you not notice the no trespass sign? And if he says, no, I did notice it, said, then why didn't you obey it? Because cops need your consent. It doesn't matter if you're in Australia, New Zealand, America, England. They are not our cops. They are
Mm.
employees of a corporation personating as Crown officers.
I
They're not
can't remember
Crown
what
officers.
Lester Straight said he did when he bought a car, but he'd go and buy a car and then he would say, um, wouldn't they? No, no, not registering it because he's exporting it or something. And then he'd just get in, drive out, and export it out of their system.
No, you can purchase any car from any car yard and withhold all the documentation to it and just tell the yard that I have a bill of sale here for the purchase of the car. It's my property and it's unregistered. So you put your own plates on it that you get from wherever, you fit them on there and drive out. They can't stop you. You're the owner. If you have a contract of sale or a paid invoice or something like that, that
Hmm.
demonstrates that you as the legal fiction, because remember they write everything in your legal fiction name. You
Yep.
as the legal fiction. If it's not registered to GovCorp, then it's not GovCorp's property. They have no authority or jurisdiction over that piece of property. They can't claim it as theirs. They
All
could
right.
say, yes, it's unregistered. My wordy, you're correct. It's unregistered. It's not registered to you. It's registered somewhere else.
Yep.
It's still registered because what is common law? Trespass. Uh, 9/10 of the law is in possession the owner.
And
That one,
as far as insurance goes,
mine's insured only because the wife forced me to, but she's passed this year. So
no, I'm sorry
when it
about
comes
that.
up for renewal, I won't be renewing either. I do not need a vehicle claim. If the car is not in their system, if I'm not in their system registered as a legal fiction, then I'm not bound by their rules. I don't require insurance. I don't know anything. And then the next question I usually get when I say these things is, well, what happens if you have a car accident? No, 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 no. Well, run through the process. You exchange details. They got insurance and you don't. So they make a claim against their insurance. They get their car fixed. They get the car replaced, whatever the case is. If it was your fault, they'll then send you a bill and you do a bill of exchange on it and
Right.
send it back. That's it. It's insured.
Yep.
That's the
Um,
insurance, the bill of exchange. Your Medicare, your your Commonwealth healthcare. It's all from your trust. It's all from your birth certificate bond, your pension.
So when I if I make a claim through Medicare, do they take it from the Cesta QV trust?
It's the system. That's the system. They may not be aware of it, but
No,
that's
no,
how the
they
system
aren't because
works.
they're
Yeah,
idiots who've been through
yeah.
university and taught to
But
not
if you
think.
follow the money, like the old adage, follow the money to the top, it always comes back to the bond in the birth certificate, the cessation
So
passport.
hang on, I think I'm having a moment here. Does that mean that you don't have a Medicare card, you don't subscribe to any of those government benefits
No, I do.
because they just come from the Bill of Exchange? You can just access it through a Bill of
No,
Exchange?
no, no. I do have some of those benefits because they're a
Can you
benefit.
straw man?
They're handy.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I that's what I'm doing too. I
use.
just think when it's convenient to be the straw man, I'm the straw man. And then when I don't
Yes,
want to be,
if it's a benefit. If
yeah,
I need Medicare help or I need to bulk bill with the doctor, I use my Medicare card. That's a benefit. If I
right.
get a speeding fine and it's in the name of the legal fiction, that's not me. I'm not paying somebody else's bill things. So you do a BOE and send it back.
All right. What
They
about your
are.
passport?
I don't need a passport because I don't travel. I don't travel overseas. Why would
It-
anyone travel overseas right now? It's
But
a
if you did, what
minefield.
would you, how would you navigate the space of passport? Because Russell J. Gould can post himself around the world.
Well, he's got that knowledge to do that. My knowledge doesn't extend to that limit.
Mine doesn't either.
Mine's restricted to reality here,
Hmm.
and I use their system. I don't make up my own, right? So I use their system against them. And right now, I haven't had a need. If I needed to go overseas, I'll get a passport
He
because
does. He uses their system too. He just posts his legal fiction like it was a letter.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know how he deals with all of the obstacles he'd get along the way, but I wouldn't know how to deal with those.
Well, I remember during COVID, I met a girl who came to one of my presentations, and she was English, and she was on a regular joint um, flying in and out of England between England and Australia. And at that time, it was a nightmare to get through an airport and off a plane or even on a plane with an Australian passport. There was all sorts of nonsense tests and shit like that, COVID crap.
Yep.
This girl got VIP. She just walked right through because she had a common law passport she got from England. It wasn't an
She had a
English
what
passport, it
passport?
was a common law passport. Yeah, yeah. Now you
Oh,
can get them in England. There's a mob there.
do you have to go over there to get one?
No, no, no. If you have to be English, I think your
Well,
jurisdiction
my
has to
father was
be.
English.
Yeah. Well, you have to be the jurisdiction of that country in England, UK. They're not covering Australia at the moment, but I do think they do cover America now. So they've got America now on the list.
But what if like my father was from England?
Well, if you can, I guess, if I don't know exactly what the whole process is for the passport. All I know is me as an Australian, I'm not English, so I don't think my chances of getting one are possible. But I guess again, if you are from heir and successor of an Englishman, then it's quite possible that you may still qualify for that. I don't know. You have to look into it.
Do you know the company that issues them?
I think if you Google Commonwealth passport, Commonwealth common law passport, you'll probably get the office that actually sells them. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And apparently she was traveling in and out VIP. She didn't get harassed or nothing. They escorted her right through everybody.
Wow. Sounds like the way to travel.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
you are going overseas, it sounds like the way to do it.
And her job was like courier. She had to courier important documents between the countries. So they use human carriers.
Hmm.
So it was jumping on a plane back and forth constantly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Michael, how do I find out more about the Royal Registry? And
We have a website. It's the www.royalregistrydejure.com.au.
okay, that's on the bottom of your email signature, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah.
And do you do you have, I saw something, I clicked on something earlier today and it took me to someone who was on the Northern Beaches and she was representing Royal Register on the Northern Beaches
Yes,
of Sydney.
yes.
And I was wondering, do you have anyone in Gold Coast or Southeast Queensland?
Yes, you can look them up. You can pretty much deal with any steward in around Australia. Any steward in any state can actually handle your application. It's an online process now. We've automated it. If you go to royalregistry.com.au and go to forms, the first one off the rank in the list of forms is actually the application to join the Royal Registry. It's in bold letters. So you can actually go online and you fill out the application accordingly to its instructions. And then when you hit submit, or during that application, you select the state that you're in and then just select one of the steward names in there. If you're not sure, just go New South Wales and select me, and I'll forward it on to a steward to do.
And can I register under my living name
Yes, well, that's what we do. We can only register men and women. We can't do
with the
legal.
colons and all that?
No, no, we don't. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Your title would be your first, middle of the family or of the house or of
Yep.
the clan or of the tribe, whatever you want can be what it is. Your surname is really just a family name. It's not your name.
No, I agree. It's not even on my birth certificate.
GovCorp stole it. They treat it as their property. So whenever you go first, middle, last name, you're actually telling them that you're the property of the government. You're a ward of the state.
So, okay, what do you do when you get first, middle, and last name on a form?
I always put CQT after my surname if it's surnames in a separate box. Um,
What does that stand for?
Sesta Trust.
Okay.
Yeah, so Seski Trust. Or you could put in there sui juris after your surname. But it's you got to play. There's no harm in being the person, right?
When it's to your advantage.
When it's to your advantage. If it's something that you want, be a person. You
Yeah,
you
yeah.
act full time as their person, and every time you sign something with your signature, make it habit forming so you do it without fail. You write there UCC 1-308.
Sorry, say that again.
UCC 1-308 with your signature.
Which means,
They can't use that document against you.
so you sign a
Both are
document.
right. It's without prejudice. It's basically without prejudice. That's what you're putting there, which
Okay.
means they cannot use that document against you. So if they, for example, you got that on your driver's license, on the signature part, and you got UCC 1-308, and you go into court and they're going and they're insisting that you're their legal fiction, you're bound by their act, all that nonsense. And you bring up the question of the license. Well, how am I bound to all the acts in that? Well, you have a driver's license. My legal fiction has a driver's license, yes. Well, then you've contracted. You've got a contract with the government. Well, let's have a look at that driver's license, shall we? And he'll want to show it to the judge. He'll read it. He'll see next to the signature UCC 13, and now the whole case's fallen over because it's inadmissible what the prosecution's brought. Because even though you signed for the benefit, you've invoked your rights. When you invoke your common law rights, you're no longer the person. You're the natural person.
Mm.
And if you Google and ask what's the difference between a natural person and a person, they're distinctively different. If you live as a natural person, it means you can communicate, they can see you, they can talk to you, you can do things. You sign with every signature a UCC 1-308, you're free. Because if it ever comes back on you and they take you to court for whatever reason, they can't use the documents. The same with a mortgage. You sign a mortgage UCC 1-308. You invoke your common law right. They can no longer use that contract against you. Because as a natural person, you're basically telling them, no, I'm the man. I'm not the legal fiction. Right?
Okay, so I'm going to write this down.
It's a good thing that you Google all these so you understand what the definitions are and put it.
UCC
UCC number 1 with a hyphen 308. The other
308.
8. And the other one is UCC 1 dash or hyphen 103. Reserve
The
all
first
rights.
one is without prejudice.
Without prejudice. The other one is all rights reserved.
And when do we use that one?
Whenever you want.
The all rights reserved.
All rights reserved. Yeah, you can use both 308 and 103, or just 308 is fine. It doesn't really matter. 103 generally is for more for copyright and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And if you sign anything, you can always use PPP before it. PPP makes you the authority, your power of attorney to the legal fiction. Yeah. You'll find on a lot of lawyer letters that they send, they're threatening you to pay this and pay that. We're acting on behalf of our client, da da da. When they actually sign something, they always use PP
Right.
before their signature, right? So it has significance.
Mm.
Some people, it's little things that make a big difference in how you live free. You can live free as a person, as the legal fiction. You just have to invoke your rights every time you speak to it. Before you have a conversation with a cop, or even with a clerk at a court, or in the government registration office, whatever, you just say straight away, before we start, I wish to remind you, I wish to let you know that, to inform you that I invoke my common law right, and you get them to acknowledge it. Once that happens, you're not their person anymore. You're not their slave, their volunteered slave.
But how do they respond when you say that?
Oh, they just look at you like you got two
Wouldn't they
heads.
be like a pinball machine that got shaken too hard?
I mean, they don't know. Some of
They
them
just
are
shut
curious.
down.
Some of them are curious. They ask, what does it mean? And you can go through and hold a conversation about it. But always ask for a copy. If you are signing something, I'll have a copy of that, please.
Yeah, especially a mortgage.
Yeah, well, mortgage is only signed by one party.
I know. That's why I want a copy. I want a copy after you've signed your side.
That's exactly.
And I also want the contract to stipulate the lending institution, not just say the lender.
Yeah, that's it. There's a
Like,
lot of
who am I contracting with?
Well, that's a lot of issues. What people don't realise with the mortgage is it's not the loan amount you should be arguing. The loan amount you lent yourself. You were the principal creditor for it. When you signed it, you borrowed your own money from the trust.
Correct.
In as a promissory note, of course, it wasn't physically changing hands because their whole world is in fiat. It's fiat currency, which means it's toilet paper. You can wipe your butt with it.
Mm.
It doesn't mean anything. It's got no.
You wouldn't wipe your butt with it. It's got too much chemical in it.
Yeah, that's right. But that's the nonsense that it is. And, if it works, why not? If you're getting a house for it, great. You can always go back and then question the contract. The actual contract of a mortgage is the terms component of it. That's the contract, is you got 25 years to pay it back at a certain fixed interest rate at a payment. That's the contract. It's not the loan amount. So that contract then has to be questioned. It has to be, they need to provide evidence or an audit trail that they physically lent the money. Because even if it's a promissory note and they produce a promissory note, which they won't because they generally sold them off already, that if there's no promissory note with your contract, there's a problem because the contract and the promissory note go together, not separate.
But see, they can't produce that evidence and they won't produce that evidence.
You have a problem because their court systems are as corrupt as they are. They own the courts. The courts are a bank. The court's not going to go on your side because that would expose the whole fraud.
Well, what if you represent yourself and you know what you're doing?
Well, that's all good for you.
I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm trying to get there.
That's
But
all.
I do know that the worst thing you could do is have one of their corrupt lawyers on the take who just wants to tax my trust represent me.
Yeah, well, the lawyers are part of the judiciary. They are in a sense employed by the government because remember they're probably wage earners. They're corporations registered with GovCorp, so they are all agents of the government. If they're bound by any sort of legislation,
They're bound by the rules of the Bar Association.
well, that's one, but there are other acts too. For example, a traffic fine or traffic court is bound by the Transport Act. So that's the jurisdiction. Anything that is any act that they're reliant on to stitch you up or steal from you, they're actually an employee or agent of the government. This is how it works. Right? You right now, if you have a job with an employer, you're actually an agent of the government. That's why you pay tax. You're part of the corporation list of corporations with them. That's why a tax file number exists. That's why your employer holds back or withholds income tax from your wages before you get it in the hand. They're all agents of the government. We're all working as slaves for the government. We're not independent. We're not free.
I totally concur, but the question that I don't comprehend an answer to yet is if I'm running a corporate business, how do I run my corporate business segregated from their system,
Your corporate business stops receiving money in its name.
right?
It's the name. Remember? They
Yep.
need that name. They need that ownership, that's in surety. They need the surety to that name, a director, whatever the case is. If you in business here, if you have surplus after all expenses, you then have a net profit. If your net profit is then invested into gold, it's now tax exempt. It's only tax applicable if you sell that gold at a higher price. That's called capital gains. Now you pay capital gains tax on it. So where you don't pay tax initially up front because you already paid withholding tax, if you're an employee, for example, or a company that's got exempt expenses. If you put that surplus money into gold bullion, you are tax exempt because they'll collect afterwards when you sell it and bring it back into the corporate bank account. But if you never sell that gold, there's no tax. So if you want to, for example, if you have a bill to pay and you don't have enough in your corporate bank account to meet the cost, then you use our promissory note, which is an instruction to our gold trade department to give you a loan that's interest free, and you have 99 years to pay back. We don't sell your gold. You always have your gold bullion stacked. You're using it because you are of good credit. We can see, oh, this guy's got 100 grand worth of gold bullion with us, and he's asking for 50 grand to pay off his mortgage because that's all it needs to pay it off. We give him an interest-free 99-year term loan. Then,
So I set up a business in 2002. It's called MRD Partners. It's got a great reputation. We're a national business. We've got people all across the country who listen to me for advice on building wealth with real estate safely and responsibly. We're not one of these dodgy people who just tries to, sell anything to anyone and earn a commission. I genuinely look to how I can help people, and we do it in both the areas of tangible real estate and property finance. Now, because of the nature of our business, my son is the finance broker. He holds a credit license and he's not awake like me. He's awake to the fact that there's a lot of corruption out there and none of my family been COVID jabbed and stuff. But when it comes to the banking system and the corporate world, he's just a 34-year-old guy and he's just trying to work it out, right? Like I did when I was his age. My wife, who is the director of the business, because I'm trying to wind myself out and I want to get out of all this stuff. So my wife is the director of the companies. And she thinks that we have to pay the rates and we have to do this and we can't have.
No,
I
there's
know, I know. We have to have government department. We can't have government departments banging on our door. I took on Spur, Queensland Police, and I wrote to them, not saying I wasn't going to pay the bill, not even questioning the bill. I just asked them to give me certified, documented evidence that they're the de jure organisation and their officers had sworn an allegiance to the Commonwealth of the Crown, because my understanding or comprehension was that they were part of a corporation that was registered on the Washington Stock Exchange. And if that were correct, and I don't know, then them sending me an invoice in the mail would be equivalent to mail fraud. So I would do this, and Queensland Police just sent everything on to Spur. And then one day, my daughter came and woke me up saying, "You got some police officers there put locks on your wheels." They weren't police officers; they were just Spur thugs, and they had literally locked the car, and they had a tow truck across the road, and an order that they were going to possess the car unless I gave them 8 grand. And so we were just gun to the head. And so I wrote it, or just transferred the money, and we didn't write a check, but transferred the 8 grand. And my wife, who has questioned my taking on the establishment nor my fighting, said, "There you go. You thought you could win and you didn't." To
no,
which
you still can.
to which I said, "I might have lost that battle, but I haven't lost the fight."
No, that's right. What this is the beauty of their laws. This is the flaw. I'll ask, was the
I'd
car
like
on
to go back and challenge what they did.
was the car on your property?
It was.
Did you have GovCorp plates?
Yes.
Okay. You got them for trespass coming on your property because everything comes back to consent. Just because they got all this bravado and they can do whatever they can because we can do that because you didn't pay the bill. So extortion is also an offence. So anything done against your will is not your act. Therefore, what they do and what they claim is now null and void. You now have a trespass claim. You can do a litigation against them. They stole your money. Did they carry a gun?
I have no idea, but they were dressed like thugs.
Okay, well,
They
assuming
look like they did, but I don't know for sure whether they did.
assuming well, if it was a cop who was doing it, well, cops don't generally do that kind of work.
No, it wasn't a cop. They were dressed like cops, but they had Spur on their jackets,
Oh, okay. Well, could be they could
which
be
is the
part of the law
State Penalty
enforcement.
Enforcement Registry of Queensland.
Yeah, well then, it's quite possible they're armed. If they're armed, then it's stand and deliver shit, mate. It's arm hold up. You got to remember when anything that's registered to GovCorp, it's not your property.
Mm.
It belongs to your trust, the trust they created from your birth certificate. It's your legal fiction's property, not yours. Therefore, because they own the legal fiction, the slaves don't own property. It's a benefit. It's a privilege. What you and me have is liberty. We have liberties. We do not need privileges. Only prisoners get privileges, right?
Yep.
So when you understand the concept of that, then you can see the flaws in their system. So where they win at one side of the fence, you can win big time on the other side of the fence. While they're trying to chase a few $1,000s off you for an unpaid bloody bill or whatever the case is, you're straight away suing them for even probably $100,000 in a litigation.
Can I do that?
Of course you can. You just do a litigation request from our Royal Registry and the beauty with our litigation department is we don't care if you're living or not. We sue for everybody, the legal fiction and the living and the subject of the Crown. So we don't have a problem with the litigation side of it. Right? So everyone has that opportunity. And we're cheap compared to your local corner lawyer who'll charge you $600 an hour. Right now we only charge $5,000 upfront deposit, and then we take 15% of your settlement. It's that simple. And you'll be presenting yourself. So through the whole process, you're actually educating yourself how to do it.
Mm.
And
yep.
So far, 100% of the time, they've been settling out of court because they know they're wrong.
Yep. Okay. So, um, can you send me something with my next steps, what I need to do?
We go rawregistrydeJure.com.au website, go into forms and scroll down to the very bottom. You'll see litigation request. It's an online form. Fill it out. Give us a backstory. If you've got the most recent letter from your GovCorp goon, then attach that to it. Don't attach all the other letters that you've done. You know, the notices you've been doing for the last 18 months. We don't have time to read through that shit, mate. Just the latest notice from them. We're only interested in their paperwork. You can keep yours. We don't litigate like the notice follow. Right? The notices are great as a backup, and to push back. But at the end of the day, the only remedy is going to be in court, and we have to take them to court to do that. And as I said before, 100% of the time so far to date, we haven't had the need to actually go into court because they settle out of court. They'll come
Okay.
back and make us an offer. When they cornered and they know they can't win, they're not going to go into court because they don't want a precedent set. So they'll come back with an offer, counter offer, and then we go
And
back and forth on the offer.
so they came like thugs at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was woken up. The car had in the driveway, they'd come onto the property, they'd clamped it. And I said to the female, I said, there's obviously a mistake here. I have never refused to pay the bill. I wrote to Queensland Police and asked them to supply information. They haven't supplied it. The matter is open. She goes, I'm not interested in that. We've been given an order and we're just carrying it out.
Yeah, see, it's a different department. They're not privy to all that sort of other information. So all they're doing is they're imbeciles. They can only do what their job description entitles them to do, and they can't do anything more than that. When they're told to do something, they do it
Mm.
because they get paid to do it, right? They're not
Yep.
going to say no. I'm not going to do this. I'm favouring your side of the argument without any of the evidence or information to qualify that. And at the same time, you're not paying them. So why would they agree to you?
Mm.
That's the problem with the system. It's a beautiful system. You just got to learn how to navigate and not be so butthurt and angry about it. Just revenge with a smile on the face is the best. Is the best antidote because my visits into court, I always make sure that they hear me in the court that they are criminal, right? And I call out the Crimes Act 1914, Section 24, which is treason. They're personating as Crown officers in there, right? They're doing harm and damage to every person that goes in their court. Some of them are assholes. Some of these people who are summoned to court deserve to be in court. But the problem is they're not courts.
Mm.
It's just a courtroom. It's a commercial tribunal. There is no magistrate who self-appoints himself as a magistrate can sit up there and say he's king, he's sovereign, without a jury. I mean, that's an American system they're running in. We're not a republic. We're a commonwealth. They're supposed to follow the constitution of the rule book for our court system, not usurp it, bury it, and create their own bullshit, which follows in lines with the UCC and American system.
So if GovCorp takes me to court, am I within my rights to demand a jury?
Yeah, you invoke your common law rights, and I demand a jury. You have that right to demand. You're in charge, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Most
yeah, I agree. And what do they do when you say that?
or they might agree or might not agree. It just depends on what the circumstances is of it. I mean, even with a traffic offence, there's supposed to be a jury that decides. A jury of your peers. What people don't understand is jury of your peers doesn't mean 12 strangers.
No,
Jury
yes,
of your peers is 12 people who know
I know
you
you.
well. They make the judgment call. If you've been a dickhead, they're going to say, you've been a dickhead, mate, pay the fine,
Yeah,
pay the bill, do the
yeah.
time, you know? But strangers are brainwashed. They only have to listen to the magistrate give his 15-minute lecture about, how drink driving's unsafe and all that nonsense. He's already convinced the jury that he's right and you're wrong when there's
Mm.
been no crime committed. Right? This has
Yep.
to be a crime first, unfortunately, in common law as well. There has to be a moral stand, and there has to be no harm or damage to another man or woman. If there's none of that, then why are we going to these courtrooms, these commercial tribunals, personating as crown courts? What business do we have in there? And they'll tell you, if you're not so and so, then you have no business with this court. Or if you're not so and so, why'd you turn up? The magistrate's telling you, right? You have
So
to.
do you ever get fines from police officers?
No, I never paid any. I
No,
always.
no. Did they ever send you fines?
Uh, no, not with my Royal Registry. No, no, I don't get fines. I don't pay tolls. I don't pay anything because I'm not in their system.
Yep.
They don't know me. I'm a ghost. I'm on my
Yep.
Commonwealth road. I'm not a state. I'm not a state citizen. I'm a Commonwealth subject. Commonwealth subject only travels on Commonwealth roads. Not there's no such thing as a state road.
Yep. I wish I could just reach into your head.
There's no. It's, I don't know a lot. To be honest, this is just all common sense. This is just
Well,
experience.
do you follow any rugby league? Do you like the Panthers?
I don't know.
You don't follow that?
No.
Because whether someone is a singer, a footballer, a gymnast, or anything, when they perfect what they do, it always looks so simple. Like
Yeah.
people who watch go, they're not doing anything complicated. It's incredibly simple.
Yeah.
Then they try and do it. And it's not
Yeah.
so simple.
It's not, but
I'm not
if
scared
you
to
have,
learn. I'm
yeah,
not scared to learn. I'm not scared of a fight. I've had a few in the last 5 years.
if you know how to manipulate their system, you can cruise right through without any harm and damage done. The argument, oh, if I don't pay these fines, I'm going to lose points or I'm going to lose my license. Well, at the end of the day, when do you need a license?
Mm. Only if you're working
Commercial.
commercially.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not. Who needs a? Since when do we need a fishing license? Since when do we need a firearms license? Only if you contract for the license. You're bound by their rules, right? But everyone has the right to bear arms. Just don't get a bloody firearms license and don't touch government's firearms because they're all registered to them. Those every firearm in this country that has a serial number on it with a maker's and brand name, they're all stockholders in the act. They're all stockholders of that property. That property is a contract that they made with the government, and that's why only the government can import firearms and no one else, because there's a commercial agreement. They've locked that up. Right?
So what licenses do you have? You don't have a passport. You've got Medicare, driver's license.
No,
Okay.
no, no. I had a firearms license, but that was revoked on me because I was self-proclaimed sovereign citizen apparently, and I had
You're a right-wing threat.
basically because I didn't accept authority. I had an issue with authority, law enforcement, and the police force. I mean, those descriptions alone is why I got a problem with authority. I don't get forced to do anything. Sorry.
In
I
Queensland, they call
consent.
it police service, and they don't commit any service.
Yeah, there's no service. It's all done with threat with enforcement. Anything done with threat with enforcement means whatever contract they're holding you to or forcing you to have an obligation to perform, they're null and void. You can't be doing something against your will. You can't be forced to do something against your will. That's not how law works.
Could you
That's
go and buy a
tyranny.
car? Could you go and buy a car on credit and then pay the car out with a bill of exchange?
It's the perfect scenario because they used your trust to finance you. And then, in fact, you could do it on the spot when they get you into the car yard to sign some sort of financial agreement and that. You can sign the agreement and then immediately on the back, you put in your endorsement on there. So now you've discharged the debt.
But will they give you the car?
Probably not. They'll probably argue because they've never seen it before, and they'll say, "Oh, that's ridiculous. It doesn't work that way." It's because they've never seen it. So you just have to take the step. And hang on, you owe me a car, mate. Now I've got to sue you if you don't give me the car over. And then you sue the finance company. This is the thing. You have to litigate. If you want to prove a point, you've got sooner or later take the stand and litigate. And that includes every landowner should be suing their bank for destroying their title. Every landowner.
Be happy to do it if I knew
That
how.
would destroy Land Title Office because it would expose the fraud that it is. I've got members who pay ATO debts off, tax debts off, and everything with BOEs. It's learning the process. You must read the acts. Don't just take it from what I say as gospel. I'll just follow Michael's way and do that. No, you don't know what Michael's way is. There's a lot of stuff I do that I haven't shared and I haven't demonstrated because it varies every time. It varies. All I can say is in contract law, if there's a controversy, it's usually because someone is suing you because they're claiming you owe them money. That's the bottom line. Your job is to have them prove you owe that money, not throw in their face all these acts and these constitutional rules and all that sort of stuff to justify your side of the argument, because all you've done is you've made what a small problem can be easily fixed. You've now made it into a gigantic one, and you're now arguing with the court, with everybody else, providing them information that has no relevance, none at all, to the actual original complaint. And that's what people got to stop doing. Stop talking. Little is more. Just question. You made a claim in a letter that you're not bound by, you're not obligated to accept bills of exchange. Now think about that. Or they might come back and say, we don't accept bills of exchange on the bill. Think about that for a second. If their claim is they don't accept it, then shouldn't the first question be, can you provide prima facie evidence of that, please? Where in law does it says you're not bound by bills of exchange? What would the second question be? Well, if you're not bound by bills of exchange, why are you sending a statement or presentment, which is a bill of exchange? You see how you call them out? Simple questions. That would be a notice back to them rebutting their rejection letter. It only has 2 questions on it. Pretty straightforward. Show me the evidence. You've got 14 days to give it to me. If you don't supply it, then you're in default, and we have an estoppel agreement that I don't owe you anything. I have no obligation to pay you a damn bloody cent. If you can't provide me evidence, every man and woman in this country has a right to question. You're not saying you're not paying it. You're saying I'm withholding the payment until you can provide me evidence that I am obligated to do as you say, or I'm obligated to pay you money when I'm not aware of a contract existing. So 1 paragraph freaking notice back.
You know what Queensland Police do with that? Handball it onto the State Penalty Enforcement Registry.
Well, they have to, because
who blindly go, we don't know what's going on between them. We're just going to collect a debt.
See, under the Commonwealth, the Crown Proceedings Act, 1958, Section 23 says clearly, police officers and prison officers have no immunity under the Crown. So if they have no immunity under the Crown, they're not Crown. They're not common law constables. They're not the Kingsmen. They're not Kingsmen, you know. They're nobody. If they are operating under an ABN corporation, therefore there is liability insurance. They are operating in their private capacity under their commercial liability. So go after,
which is basically what I would say to Queensland Police.
So you go after their liability insurance. And how do you do that? Or did you get consent from me to talk to me? Did you get consent for me to arrest me? Did you get consent to do what you did, steal my plates off the car just because you claim it's not registered when it is? It's they never follow their own conduct act. Their police act is the conduct manual for them. And if you can pick the shit out of it, and none of them follow it, which means every action they make is actually unlawful. You can sue them. They're causing harm and damage. When they cause harm and damage to someone, they're suable.
Do they ever have to pay?
Of course they do. They pay every time. If you litigate against them, they pay every time. Once the litigation is in process and there's a court date set, they make sure that they settle out of court before that court date. They may even settle in the court in front of the magistrate. They may withdraw or ask for an extension for negotiation with the other side for a payout for compensation. But we've had cases go through the courts. Many cases we've been behind. Most people aren't aware of trespass cases, and we've been successful in those. So we have set precedent quite a few times.
Yep.
But it's not us that's going into court for them. We push our member in front. It's them.
Yep.
They're the ones presenting themselves.
Oh, that's what I want to do. I want to learn how to do that myself.
And that's how they learn.
Learn to govern yourself or you'll be governed.
We are every litigation case that we handle, we are actually educating that member how to sue. And they have that now for the rest of their life. And there's a couple of members actually making a living out of this. They've got lawsuits going on every few months. They won't tolerate anything from them anymore. Right? One's even with an RBT stop, and he's done nothing wrong. He didn't fail the bag or anything. He still sued the police office. He still sued the police service because they interfered with his free travel. That's trespass. Trespass is the key. You can't get them on anything else. Trespass on person, on body, property, and freedom.
Yesterday morning, I was sitting out on our deck, just getting a bit of vitamin D. My wife was having a shower, and she suddenly came out with a towel around her, distressed, saying 2 men had walked up the side of the house. And our bathroom, it's a big window. We're renovating. It's a big open window, no coverings on it. We're going to sort of make a nice little garden out there. It's a private little section. So she asked me to go and check it out. And I went out the front, and there were these 2 guys out there doing fire ant stuff. And they said, oh, I said, mate, they go, oh, sorry, we banged on the door and no one answered. So we thought there was no one home. And so we went down the side, and they were trying to see how close we were to the lake and this, that, and the other thing. Anyway, they walked past my wife. She's naked in the shower. And then they came back again. And I just said, mate, that is not on. And I said, that's trespassing. And he goes, oh, under the biosecurity code number 16, whatever it was, right? We're allowed to do that. And I didn't bother arguing with him because I knew he was an idiot. He's just told what his employer tells him, but I knew he was trespassing. My wife was really pissed off. She rang council, and they said it wasn't council, it's state government. Can we do anything about that? And
yeah. Look, there is already case law precedent where a cop stepped on your land, where a cop stepped on someone's land, and because they were told repeatedly, you're trespassing, you must leave the premises immediately, and they didn't, that was enough to sue. And that woman got 18 grand for her trouble. She was offered 30. She was offered a payout of 30. All right. And because she insisted going to court over it, which is a pretty dangerous thing to do, they were prepared to remedy and pay out of 30,000. And because she refused it, the judge gave her 18. And then the prosecution at the time said they made a claim of all the money because she forced him to go to court after they made an offer to remedy the situation. You can't do that, right? That's quarterback. That's Calder Bank case. That's a world-renowned one. So if they offer you, you can negotiate the payout figure, but if you knock back the payout figure and you force them to go to court, then you end up paying their costs.
Right.
So,
All
but
right.
yeah, you
So
have grounds for trespass on that. You can litigate on that one. Yeah, you got all their contact details and all that.
no,
Yeah.
I didn't get his name.
It's hard to. It's a tort suit. You got to get their name and details. Be really nice. Please. Well, okay. Can you give me a business card or something like that? And I'll look. And they'll give you the business card, whatever the case is, and his name, and then you just do a litigation. You say you don't tell the enemy you don't tell the enemy you're coming.
Mm.
Right? You surprise the enemy when he's been
And
confronted with a court order to pay up.
and I do that through the Royal Registry, the litigation request section.
From our website, yeah, you go into you fill out a litigation request. We'll have a look at every case. Yeah. We're only going to take it on if we know we're going to win it, and
Yep.
it's free. We do a free assessment. It doesn't cost you anything to ask.
Yep. Perfect. No, that's awesome, Michael. Really good.
I've got
Now,
to go now because I've
no, you said you had an emergency or something
yeah,
you
yeah,
had to deal with.
yeah.
Hope
I've got
everything's
to
okay.
yeah. No, it's all good. It's been going on all bloody day. I just got to get back to it now. That's all.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
That's all right. Thanks for that. And
And I look forward to learning more from you.
is it all right if I get a copy of this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you post that into my private message in Telegram because the Telegram takes big files, big video files. So.
Yep, the LIP Telegram page.
Yeah. I'll put it into my private message. So Michael Rolfe, we communicate.
All right. I'll email you tomorrow if I can't find it.
Okay.
Good on you,
Okay.
Michael.
All right. Cheers. Thank you very
See
much.
you, mate. Bye-bye.
And cheers. Bye.